Hi, this is Ed Cohen in San Diego, California, and I'm your broadcast host again on Global TV Network. This is a news service of globalbusinessnews.net. So we've been in business for a very long time, beginning in relocation guides around the U.S. called U.S. Bound, such as New York Bound, Florida Bound, California Bound. We morphed into conferences beginning in 1984 with the LA Chamber of Commerce, live conferences. And boy, it seems like a million years ago since our last one on February 27 in Washington, D.C. on Embassy Row. Since then, we've reinvented ourselves into a video talk show thing, and here we are. Very honored to have a special guest today, and I want to introduce them and then be quiet and let them talk. Uh, so Nicole Millman from BD, Becton Dickinson, based in the UK. As I understand it from LinkedIn, your role is a senior manager for EMEA and Greater Asia. Why don't you tell us a little bit more detail about your role, please?
So thank you, Ed. Yes, hello everyone. So I work for Becton Dickinson and I've actually moved roles in March, so my LinkedIn isn't updated. So I used to look after global mobility for EMEA and Greater Asia, and I am now in charge of talent management for EMEA.
Well, I bet you're happy.
Well, it was actually just in March, just before COVID, so it was quite good timing in a sense.
Yeah. So what is your sphere of influence, if I may ask? I mean, what kind of people count are you involved with? And that's a huge area you have.
So for EMEA, we're approximately 12,000 strong, so quite a big population in terms of people that I look after. And with all the COVID, obviously, there's been a lot of moving parts in terms of working virtually, how to connect with teams virtually, and how to still be engaged and still be productive. So a lot of focus from the talent side has really been to influence how we can continue to work in a virtual environment.
So once we get going, I would like to ask you, if you could please think about it now, I would like to ask you about engagement with your people virtually. And um, you're up close and personal with a screen like me. I'm like right here, but I don't have any cats or dogs running around. Joanne might walk by, but I don't I don't have any big interruptions here. But a lot of people who are working from home do have interruptions, and so that gets pretty personal when it's supposed to be business relationships. So how you handle that and how people are handling that, managing the situation. This is part of your job now, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it definitely is. And we did a set of webinars also from a talent side, trying to help our associates really integrate virtually, look at their mental health, their well-being, what they what they're facing during the COVID time, and what a potential post-COVID could look like.
Yeah.
But we're really focused, even now with performance management, really on connecting, having conversations, doing it virtually, turning on the camera, being there, being as personal as you can be without being face to face.
Yeah. So who's running mobility now, or is it just outsourced totally?
Well, they never got a replacement for my role because that I think went on hold during COVID. So it's
Yeah.
all run out of the US at the moment.
Yeah. Is that out of New Jersey or out of California?
Oh, the team is quite split. So
Yeah.
actually,
Okay.
you're in San Diego, half the team are near to you.
Yeah. Well, I know some of the people. It's about 2 miles from here. So okay, let's move on. Julie, you've been involved in the bridgeschool.net for 20 years. So how's your population? Is it stable? Is it growing?
Yeah, we're really growing right now. We're seeing an intense need. Parents, especially, and I'm sure this is similar in other parts of the world with the mobile families that I've been speaking to. But families are very unsure as they're standard schools, the ones that are actually in brick and mortar buildings, are now trying to translate what they do in those bricks and mortar buildings into an online world. And so it's a rough transition for many schools and many families. So they're looking for some of those leaders that have been around in online education for decades to really provide that stability. So it is definitely a booming field right now. And it's something that we are excited to kind of provide our expertise in and share what we've learned over the past 20 years.
Right. Thank you. So you're used to virtual, right? I mean, this is what it's all about. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually, for the larger part of the last 17 years, I have been working from a home office, and most of our teachers are also remote, working from their home offices. And so training the virtual workforce has been a part of what I have done over the course of the past decade, and really helping both employers and students find that balance of how they can be successful working at home.
Yeah. So off the top of your head, what percentage, or just guess, of your students are in India?
At the top of my head, I don't know that we currently have any in India. I know we have many in Honduras and Latin America. We have some in Ireland. We've got some in Switzerland and Rome, but I do not believe that we currently have any in India. So that's a very interesting area of the world that we not have our relationships with.
Okay, so I want you to be sure and meet Nicole. She's based outside London. So it's okay to send each other messages using the chat. Okay, we want everybody to network just like in a live meeting. Okay, so let's move on. But I want to make sure you know, Julie and Nicole, that these guys, Diwakar and Rohit, they are absolutely excellent resources for India, should you ever need that. So Diwakar, tell us about virtual Relo and prep it up, because we're going to show your video in just a couple of minutes. I want everybody to see the video. Okay. Because it's really cool. Yes, it's an ad, but it's really cool. So Diwakar, how long have you been doing this? A long time now, right?
Well, I've been doing relocation for over 20 years now. And as you know, Rohit and me, we started ICANN Relocations, and we've had a long journey. But a couple of years back, we decided, it's time to provide some virtual support to intra-India assignees, specifically because of the cost barriers. And most of them were given lump sum packages. So it really didn't make sense for the corporates to outsource complete services for these assignees. So that's when we started working on the virtual model. And believe it or not, we launched it in February this year, which was right before the COVID. Yeah. Not the greatest time for us to go to market. And even during the lockdown, we had a decent amount of traction, whereby we moved close to about 100 families, mainly in the household goods side. We've done a bit of housing. So it's been a tough journey ever since we launched because of the shutdown. But what we've done is we heard what our customers wanted. They wanted to save costs. They wanted to they put people to move on their own within India at least. And that's what pushed us to design this product, which is Virtual Relo. And by next year, we want to go global on this.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, Paul is in the background. He's a technical producer here. I cannot do that. I'm all thumbs, but he's a wizard at this stuff. So what you're going to see here is in about 30 seconds of stuff, a video showing who our co-sponsors are. We can't do this without sponsors, but it's cute and it's informative. And then we're going to go right to the virtual Relo video, which talks about what your program is all about. It's actually very informative, and it takes a couple of minutes. Okay, Paul, when you're ready.
Hiring the right talent is paramount for the success of any corporate. Oftentimes, this requires the relocation of the workforce from other cities to their work location. Relocating to a new city can be a stressful experience, which may in turn directly impact the overall productivity of the employee. Historically, most domestic hires are provided with a lump sum relocation allowance and then left to fend for themselves. This results in them having to invest a significant amount of time and effort to identify a suitable property, choose the right packers and movers, and thereafter struggle in dealing with multiple vendors. Further, the cultural differences and limited knowledge of their destination city could add to their woes. On the other hand, hiring managers of these corporates have to ensure that they provide the best onboarding experience, an integral part of which is a successful relocation. They also need to maintain cost efficiencies. The need of the hour is a relocation expert who can address all these challenges and improve the overall experience while still ensuring maximum savings. Presenting Virtual Relo, an online ecosystem that makes the process of relocation for the ever-increasing mobile workforce extremely easy and transparent. Most importantly, the cost saving for the corporates is going to be substantial, given the enhanced support they can now offer through the unique Virtual Relo platform. Virtual Relo offers a host of features that makes the entire relocation experience hassle-free and also provides corporates with complete control over their employees' move. Virtual Relo is designed to curate a list of properties as per the employee's exact requirements, while providing them with the option to save on the brokerage amount. Virtual Relo organizes quotes from some of the top packers and movers in India, allowing easier comparison and informed decision-making. An online smart lease that assists with local rental terms and conditions. A guide that provides an overview of the destination city to ensure the employee gets accustomed to the new location quickly. Providing shared housing solutions for employees with limited budgets. Help employees with value-added support services like furniture rentals, white goods suppliers, etc. Corporates can now have greater control by tracking each step of the relocation through Virtual Relo. Save time and effort on vendor management, reduce the cost overheads while improving the employee experience. Virtual Relo is a game changer in the relocation industry, combining decades of our knowledge and expertise with cutting-edge technology to extend a hassle-free solution to both the corporate and the employee. Virtual Relo, an ICANN Grey Path initiative.
Way to go. Okay, well, thank you for looking at this thing. Before we get to Rohit and Diwakar again, Nicole, you're a people manager, not a relo manager anymore. So the people aspects of not relocation, but just communicating and dealing with an international global mindset, BD. BD is very involved in the COVID vaccine thing, right?
Yeah, no, we are. We are, yes.
And so people from all over the world, or is that just focused in certain areas?
It's more
within BD.
In terms of the vaccination, in terms of
the COVID related medicine.
So I think it's heavily more in the US, obviously, seeing as that's where we're headquartered, and the leverage that our CEO is having with Trump and etc. What we're offering on the market. I think it depends where in the world as to what degree we're we're helping or what degree we're supporting and able to support in.
Great. Okay. Rohit, the origination of the virtual relo and its integration within your systems, Diwakar, also, please comment about the reception that your video and the technology has on your current business. I know it will grow going forward, but right now, Rohit.
I think Rohit is on mute. Mute.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Ed. But first, before I go into that, I must thank you again for inviting me on your show. First time that I ever met you was, I think, way back in 2001.
Yeah, I think at a Euro meeting.
2003.
I think so. Yeah. Oh, we lost you.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I think that was either at ERC or a Euro meeting.
Yeah. No, probably the ERC, maybe in Anaheim or someplace. But that is years back now. Okay. And I wouldn't have ever imagined that one day I would be sitting with you and chatting like this,
I know.
In 2020. But thank you so much for inviting me over. And I'm very happy to be here. To your question about virtual relo and it being kind of a predator on our original business idea, which is probably delivering services face to face. Hello.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
So yes, so that is a threat that we do feel sometimes. But if positioned correctly, that may not be the case. And Diwakar and me are working in that direction to merge the two businesses in such a fashion that the virtual relo product would add the same value that I can add currently, which is basically providing hand-holding support, face-to-face, physical support, and ensuring that kind of human touch service continues to be delivered, even though the person is using the virtual relo product. And in spite of that, reducing the costs for the customers, maybe the RMCs in this case as well. So we are alive to that there could be challenges for our original business, but we're working in the direction to ensure that both can coexist together.
Yeah. So, Julie, are you teaching computer science in your courses?
We have some electives that are gaming. We have a scratch coding that we offer. We offer a gaming unlocked. So they are more of the electives that we offer for students who are interested in that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. Dan, what do you think about all this?
Well, it's inevitable that technology is going to play a massive role in transportation industry overall on a global scale, but neat to see it starting here in the moving and storage space. Awesome to see what virtual relocation's accomplished here and what they're trying to accomplish going forward, similar to our own goals. So good to see.
Great. Okay. All right. So Nicole, thank you for using the chat. I really appreciate that. Feel free to ask each other questions or do whatever message you want. If you do need to have a connection following the show, let me know. I'm happy to connect if it's okay. If it's not okay, please communicate with me. Let me know. Okay. We don't want to do anything that we shouldn't. So Diwakar, how many people do you have on your team who are proficient in what the virtual relo video is talking about?
We've gone ahead and trained our entire team at ICANN on the virtual relo product. Basically, everyone in our organization, which is 60 people today, are proficient in the virtual relo platform. At the end of the day, I think Nicole is messaging Rohit on the side. Hand-holding will certainly continue because eventually the end service is provided by a human interface, whether it's the housing, closing the housing lease, it's a realtor who comes in, the shipping whereby the packing crew comes in and the moving crew comes in. So we can never get rid of that, at least. Probably there would be a time where we are trying to develop virtual housing tours and more on the housing side where we want to go more virtual. But it's going to take time because that human interaction is very important. I think expats who are relocating or employees who are relocating still feel comfortable talking to human beings, and want to understand more pros and cons rather than read about it online on our system and say, hey, this is the house I'm going to choose. So that interface is going to take time. By the time we humanize the computer, we're trying to. I think I explained last week also. We're trying to bring in computer vision into the play. We're trying to bring in voice into the play, but all that's going to take us time. And till that happens, I think some element of human intervention is required, and that's where our team comes in.
So Nicole, back to you for a sec. And on the video idea, to what extent are you using video now, or will you be using video more to not necessarily gamify this issue of people management and engagement from distant learning, distant relations? It's like you got a huge area, EMEA and Greater Asia, and so
I'm not
many
Greater
different.
Asia anymore. Only EMEA
Oh,
for
okay.
talent.
Well, that's big enough. So, I mean, I think that's bigger than the U.S. itself. But, you still have a lot of cultures, a lot of personalities, probably a lot of age groups within your population. Isn't that right?
Yeah, no, we do definitely. And we're moving a lot of things virtual. So we're even doing accelerator programs. We launched our accelerator program virtually, which is connecting all our aspiring leaders that we've selected to be part of this program. Normally it was done face-to-face. It was done with a lot of interaction. So we've tried to build something that can still engage our associates and still make them feel they're having the added value. And I think we've really succeeded in that. I think many things in the future, as we look at how virtual can work, will continue to work. And I wanted to comment actually on Rohit and Diwakar, your virtual relocation thing, because I think it's absolutely brilliant. And I think the more people, especially with the younger generation, and I think when you look at millennials, they want to be with the hand-holding device. They want to be able to quickly swipe and see, okay, what can they select? And yes, of course, you need interaction. But just to put it in perspective, I moved to the US in 2015. We bought a house via Skype.
Wow.
We never saw the house. We bought the house via Skype and we hit into Dallas, into our new house. So it was happening back. It was happening 5 years back. I think mindset will shift. And as mindset shifts, people will be more inclined to do viewings virtually or to have that virtual reality. So I think you're definitely hitting on a good nail.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I want to introduce Sandra Corona, who welcome again.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Yeah, Sandra, why don't you quickly introduce yourself, and I'll make sure you're properly introduced. Sandra is coming to us from east of Riyadh.
Yes, yes, absolutely. So I live here in Hobart, Saudi Arabia, and it's 6:30 in the evening right now. I know that in India it's 2 hours and a half ahead of us. So hello, good evening, everybody. I currently run the first Global Mobility Book Club. I'm very proud to say that we're the first ones in the industry. So hope that some of you might be able to join us one day and grace us. Thank you, Ed.
So tell us about your first edition. Was that with Sandrine?
Me? Oh, no, actually, we're going to have the first book club meeting this Tuesday, and that's going to be with Angie Weinberger.
Oh,
so
yes,
I'm glad to see you all join us at 7 p.m. Saudi Arabia time.
Yeah, okay. Well, send us all a message, okay?
Will do.
Or why don't you send a chat around to everybody here so they can contact you if they want the info, okay?
Great idea. Thank you, Ed. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you bet. Okay, so Sandra, Sandra, meet Diwakar, Gupta,
Hello, Ivanka.
and Rohit Kumar. They're both in India. Julie Taylor, I think you met last week from the
Yes.
Bridge School, and Daniel Cunningham, CubeMonk. You got to check that out, CubeMonk.com. Interesting stuff. And you're in an island off of Turkey somewhere right now. Okay. And I'm in San Diego, as you know, and Nicole Millman is outside of London with BD, Becton Dickinson. Okay, we will be joined by others in the next few minutes, but we're going to continue here. So, Sandra, we've been talking about video, we've been talking about remote workers, and so, Nicole, I want to zero in, if I can, back to you about people relations using work, distant communications. Is it harder or is it easy? I mean, it's normal, right? Already, you've been doing it. How else do you deal with reports and situations when you're sitting outside of London and your people are spread out all across Europe?
So I think for a lot of people it's normal. So for you, for me, it's normal. We've been doing it for a majority of our career, and we just carried on doing it, but with children at home during COVID, which added a new complexity to any arena. But I think for other people who are used to going into an office, who are used to traveling to meet their teams or to doing regular team meetings or regular meetings with clients, from a talent perspective with BD, it became harder for those people to adapt to how do we do it virtually? How do we have the same engagement? I think if you spoke to me back in April, it was a lot harder than now. Now it's kind of the norm. We put down the fact that everyone should turn on their video, everyone should do video with their teams, everyone should engage, which wasn't really the norm. Like if I look at my work that I always did from home a year ago, I never turned on the video for anyone. It was just not the norm. It was, okay, I'm here. I don't need the video on. But with COVID, there was that let's be in person as we can. And we also focus on the point that, yes, we're saying, that the media is saying social distancing, but it's not actual social distancing. We turned it into it's physical distancing rather than social, because the social aspect still needs to be there. You need to socially interact. And I think as we've gone through this period of COVID, and to today's point, a lot of people, the majority of people will use their video and BD. The engagement is there. They're connecting more with their teams or their clients. So it seems that actually it's turned on a positive light. And another positive is that we see people can do the job from home and be effective and efficient, which is really a turning point.
So, Rohit, are you training people to do more or learn more global mindset so they could do more with video?
Certainly. I think it's a natural progression to begin with. When you take away something from someone, you move their cheese. They do cheese. They do fall in line. Yeah, it's been interesting, with this COVID thing. So we developed certain. We have this very interesting technology within the company called iTrack, and within that we've created certain tools and certain mechanisms to track productivity of our staff, irrespective of where they're working from. So they could work from home or from office. So earlier, working from home, I believe in the US is very common, but in India it was an absolute no. And then all of a sudden, it has become a reality. And then we agreed to that reality, and we've allowed people to take a call if they want to work from home or work from office, and come into office, come in from work, but maintain the productivity logs. And that's helping us, manage through this. And some amount of sensitization towards how they would use those logs, and then subsequently how they communicate with their clients now over emails and over virtual tools has been done.
Yeah. So Sandra, I see that your doggie is in the room with you. What's your dog's name, and how old is your dog?
So her name is Selene.
Oh, can you
and
show
it
us a picture?
Oh, she's she left. She always leaves where she's not supposed to. She'll come back. Her name is Helene, and it means moon ray in Arabic. And she is a Alaskan Malamute. She is just turned a year and a half. So
well, thanks. Okay, we just want to keep this one big family here. That's all.
Yes.
Okay.
They're always going to be here in the room. They're never going to leave.
Yeah. So, Julie, what percentage or how many, what kind of numbers do you have of students from the Middle East?
I don't know off the top of my head. I'm so sorry, Ed. I don't have the.
No, it's okay. This is all
of the
spontaneous.
States. And quite honestly, we've gotten so many students just in the recent months that I don't have a very current representation. But I think that it's so important, and I just wanted to comment on something that Nicole said, and I put it in the chat here. It's so important to be intentional and make that face-to-face connection, even through Zoom when you have the remote workforce. And we talk to our students and our teachers about this all the time, is that, when you're in an office or you're in a school, it's so easy to read someone's facial language and understand, maybe what they're thinking just by the look on their face. But we're in this world of the unknown, and we're emailing, or we're trying to get through our to-do list as quickly as we can, and we might have the home distractions going on. So it's very important to be intentional for both employees and students and parents on making that connection. It's not that you can just stop by somebody's office and have a 30-second conversation. So we actually encourage teachers and parents to schedule that time, build it into your schedule so that you can connect and have that one-on-one interaction that maybe before, when you were in an actual building, you didn't have to think about, and you didn't have to put it on your schedule.
Let's talk about the degrees that you offer. Is it like the IB or some other?
Our accreditation is through Cognia. So it is an international accreditation agency. It's not the same as IB. We have looked into IB, but previously IB was not really accrediting online institutions. They were mainly for bricks and mortar schools. This might change now that COVID has happened and many schools are moving online. But our accreditation is through Cognia, and they are both a K through 12 accreditation and a higher education accreditation. And so they are global, and it's really important to make sure that we are offering that. Students who attend our school are able to receive a high school diploma, and our students have gone on to colleges and universities around the globe.
Okay, good. Thank you for clarifying that. We want to make sure that everybody understands the significance of what you and Chase are building here. It's great. Okay, Daniel, what is your product, CubeMonk, being accepted for its technology?
It is, Ed. We spent a lot of time building different phases and testing. Like I mentioned earlier, about 6 years before we actually launched, wanting to make sure that when we did, we didn't have any trip-ups. And we tested for about 18 months before we truly launched. So when we launched in January of this year in full, and then COVID hit, we actually seen more traction after COVID hit, because I believe more people were working from home at that point. And as it was just previously mentioned, there's less water cooler talk. And more work being done, and more open time for those communications with the C-suite. So we've seen a massive increase in communication from the larger companies into what we're doing. So yeah, we've been able to grow. So
Rohit and Diwakar, what what are you doing? What's the result of the decrease in immigration into the U.S.? How's that impacting your business?
So, okay, Rohit, go ahead. I'll leave it to you.
All right. So you're referring to H-1Bs, right?
Yeah.
And H-1Bs being reduced in numbers and so on and so forth, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, of course, it's an impact in a positive way for our business specifically, because with the cancellations of the H-1Bs, families are tending to return back to India, and virtual relo is going to play a very big role in that. Earlier, they would probably do it themselves anyway, and such a situation has happened in the past as well, when H-1B visas were reduced or they were cancelled, and there was a mass exodus of people coming back either into China or into India. But this time it's for real again. And in fact, Diwakar has just been in contact with a company which is setting up a job show. Or in fact, Diwakar, you should introduce that gentleman to Ed as well. It's a very, very interesting concept. He's setting up a job show
I just
for
thought about
these. For these returning Indians who have lost their jobs in the US and have to come back here and start off again. Some of them have been away for a decade, maybe more, and they're probably less Indians and more Americans now, unfortunately for them. And now they have to come back. So it's a reverse brain drain, as we sometimes call it.
What about the accessibility of Canada, in particular here in the West, Western North America? You have Vancouver, which is a stone's throw across from Seattle. And that's where Microsoft and a lot of the Hollywood film studios are set up, and other companies where they're having difficulties getting people into the U.S. They're sending them up there, and then somehow getting them across the border. Are you involved in any of that?
No, but I must tell you this very interesting story I received today. In fact, a joke. So the American president and the Canadian president were talking to each other, and they were asking each other as to what would be America like 50 years from now, and what would Canada be like 50 years from now. So the American president, Mr. Trump, he feeds the data into the computer, and out comes a little sheet of paper, and it says that the president is the current president of America 50 years from now is a Muslim, the vice president is a woman, and the previous president was a woman, and so on and so forth. So he's very excited. America has changed so much. Brilliant. The Canadian president also does the same. He feeds in the data into his computer, and out comes a little printout. And he says, so Trump asks the president of Canada, what does your paper say? He says, you know what? I can't tell. It's all in Hindi. So 50 years from now, Canada probably could be a second India. But today, as we speak, it's a destination. It's a good destination for immigrants going from here. But majority of them are taking taxi driving as a profession. So it's not something.
That's funny.
I guess that's something that Julie would be able to answer, because a lot of students are now opting for Canada. They don't want to go to the US thanks to Mr. Trump. And I see this from India. Actually, my son's applying for college now, and I see most of his classmates either wanting to go to UK or Canada or Australia rather than US, which used to be the destination for higher education. So I guess Julie would know more about that than any one of us. And if that happens, certainly what Rohit said, most Indians are going to go to Canada, and we're going to overpopulate the country.
Okay, Julie, what do you say?
Well, we've actually not seen a big decrease in our student base that are going to American colleges. The ones that are going to international universities are usually going to universities that are in their home country. So I haven't seen a big change in that from our alumni. But that's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Well, we have in in the past, when we were doing live meetings, we have produced meetings in Toronto several times and in Vancouver a couple of times. And it's very, very international outlook. And it's actually beautiful to be there and be a part of it. And as an American, let me tell you that, not talking politics too much, but the U.S. will go back to where it was one of these days soon, and welcoming people, just like it says on the Statue of Liberty. So let's move on. We have about 10 minutes remaining here, and I'd like to open it up for discussion about the world of business and where we're going. And if you don't want to participate, it's okay. But Daniel, you have a very spiritual approach to things in life. So what do you think about all this mess that's going on now?
Again, you said you didn't want to get into politics. Probably not a good idea. I speak at this point.
No,
I just think it all comes.
Just be
it all
spiritual.
Unfortunately, most of all this comes down to greed. So something that needs to be looked into deeply within. Object, items, and things certainly do not define us, which most educational institutions teach, unfortunately, and leading to a fear and anxiety-based decision-making process. So it's an interesting world we live in, and that's all I can really say without going too political.
Okay, so I want to zero in on CubeMonk because I don't think it's clear about the safety and the use of technology that you have invented applied to moving stuff. So it's in a box that's locked, that's traceable, trackable, and temperature controlled. Is it air cushioned so things don't get busted up?
No. There's right now. I mean, there's different iterations that we have. We continue to evolve in research and development with the pharmaceutical industry and the medical device industry. The moving and storage industry is where we started, and we basically built something that has tie-offs every 6 inches on 3 different tiers to make sure that there's always somewhere for the mover to tie things off and no excuses, as many movers have. But yeah, there's a lot of data and a lot of analytics that come from the Guru device that's contained inside every container that allows us to do a lot with that data. And the analytics in and around claims, care, custody, and control, who's been around the container based on Bluetooth and whose phone's been near it, who opened and closed the container. All this data in the past just wasn't relevant and wasn't available. And, to some comments I heard a little bit ago, everyone does want to look at their phone and be able to see where things are and, know what pricing is instantaneously. And inherently, our industry's fairly far behind, not looking to be transparent, because there's a lot of fees that are derived from multiple layers of brokerage and everything else in our space, which needs to change. Truth and transparency is what we're about, and we plan to bring truth, single source of truth through the Guru device into the space on a global level.
Okay, so very quickly, these people are not familiar with your depth and your involvement in genius type of things. So we talked the other day when I introduced you to Brian in Phoenix, who's genius developing an engine that's run by water. And so just so you know, Rohit and others, Daniel's an inventor also, and he is involved in Aruba and a desalinization thing. Is that correct?
Yeah, we're working on a project. They were looking at, doing something with their 900-acre. Oh God, right now I can't think of the name of it, but it's where oil refinery. Sorry about that. There's 900 acres there. They have a refinery, and they were looking to do some things a little bit differently because of COVID. They import 85% of their food, and their water desalination is from fuel, which they use oil imported. and then use the refinery to turn it into fuel. So therefore, if they can't take ships into the port, their food and their water becomes a problem for the island. So they're looking to take some steps there. And I'm part of a group called Circularity Edge, which there's 6 of us that work with countries around the world to bring circular economy, back into the reality of the world. We need that going forward. We have to reduce emissions. We have to look at things that are more sustainable. The way things are today, in my view, they're not, going forward. Humanity is on a terrible course, and it needs to be corrected.
So I hope you had some contact with Brian. If not, on the show on September 17, I'll bring you guys together. By the way, that show, September 17, is about genius innovations. And so I'm sourcing the world for more to come on that program. We have a program tomorrow and the next day and the next day. Almost every day we're broadcasting something. And tomorrow is all about leadership. And we have some masterminds in addition to Julie Taylor, who will be on the show. You're all welcome if you wish. About the same time of day. If you want the program link, I'll be glad to send it. So we have authors and deep thinkers about leadership training and what it takes to have proper leadership in stressful situations. So there's a guy in London area by the name of Kasaba Toth, who's got the ICQ system. And then we have from California, Stephen Howard, who's written 21 best-selling books, business leadership books. And Daniel, are you going to join us for that too?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Okay, so it's going to be a real interesting conversation. And then on the next day, on the 10th, we're zeroing in on reinventing ourselves because of COVID and the VUCA thing we're all experiencing in many ways, particularly in the mobility industry. And so the program is going to feature thinkers and doers about who have reinvented themselves or who have tips on how to do that. Very, very practical information. And on Friday, we're going to zero in on the household goods industry in the U.S. And Mel Smith from Washington area, who's with DeWitt Global Moving, is my special guest, and we'll have others. We're also doing a tribute to a longtime relocation industry manager for a corporation called Darden, D-A-R-D-E-N. Used to be part of General Mills Corporation. They spun off into owning restaurants, themed restaurants. So Nancy Carter has been the relocation manager for 48 years, and she's retiring. And so this is a national tribute to Nancy. It's happening next week on the 15th, and I'm privileged to be the host moderator. And then tomorrow afternoon in U.S. time, we're doing a special fundraising telethon for the people in the New Orleans, East Texas area that have been devastated because of the recent 2 hurricanes who hit that area. And apparently there's another one aiming for that area. And so there's thousands of people without shelter or food or clean water. So with the help of local people, I'll be hosting a telethon tomorrow afternoon U.S. time. So a lot going on Global TV, and I want to thank you all for being our guest today, and I invite you to come back. Diwakar and Rohit, why don't you do a summary and where you're going this week and next as we go into the fall season here? Do you think things will get better?
Well, I don't see India getting better anytime soon. You're talking about 1.3 billion people who are scared of stepping out of their homes right now. We've got an increasing rate of infections in the country. Now we've gone to number 2. I certainly don't want to be in the first slot out there, but we've gone to number 2 position globally with the number of infections. And so really don't know where we are going. Very tough to say. And I think till the magic pill comes out, we're going to be in the same situation out here.
Yeah. Yeah, Rohit.
Yeah, I think it can only get better from here. It can't possibly get worse for the world as such, and as also for India. At the rate that we are progressing, we are certainly going to develop herd immunity very soon, maybe in about 2 or 3, 4 months. Yeah, I think by March, April, even by June next year, when we look back in time and we say, hang on, we went through this phase. This actually happened. And this too shall pass.
Well, God willing. Amen. So, Nicole, you're in the medical business. So a lot riding not on your shoulders, but on all your people's shoulders.
Well, we're not making a vaccination per se. That is different companies. So we will provide syringes and other materials to help, but not actually the vaccination. So a lot riding on the companies that are making the vaccine and the testing for them as to the success rate.
Yeah. Yeah, great.
But I think by the time potentially the vaccination comes out, I'm hoping there's a medicine before the vaccination at this rate. So we will need to see what comes first, the medicine or the vaccine.
Yeah. Thank you very much for doing this. It's been a great building up to this time with you. Thank you. Julie, thank you very much. Sandra, thank you again. And good luck with your Global Mobility Book Club. Make sure you keep us informed. Daniel,
Yes.
thank you very much. And thank you to the others in the background. I welcome you to come back. Okay. So let's sign off and cheers. Have a good one.